I keep my goals to myself, cause whenever I share it with folks, they get a look upon their face and their memory floats to a time where their goals and the stars.
What's good? We're going to get into AEW Dynamite from March the 25th, 2026. This was a boring episode of AEW Dynamite. Not too much happened on this show, really. They're just building towards Dynasty. We've got 2 matches announced so far. That is, spoiler alert, Kenny Omega versus MJF for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship, and Edge and Christian versus FTR. But I assume they're probably going to add the Young Bucks into that, and it's probably going to be a triple threat tag team match, which that's fine, I guess. That should be the main event, and Kenny and MJF should be the co-main for Dynasty. So, there's that. One thing that's getting on my nerves with AEW, and they're doing it way too much, that is the overrun. These shows need to go off at about 10 o'clock, or at times like 10:01 or 10:02. But they need to go off the air at 10 o'clock on the dot. There is no need for AEW to go off the air at like 10:10 or 10:15 or whatever, or sometimes 10:17. You don't need an overrun every single week. It's stupid. It defeats the purpose. It makes no sense. TNA doesn't do that on AMC, and WWE doesn't do that with SmackDown or even Raw on Netflix. So I have no idea why Tony Khan constantly wants to do an overrun every single week. It's dumb. It's not worth it. So there's that. Dynasty should have about maybe, I would say, 7 matches. And maybe you do like a couple matches on the pre-show. So hopefully we get a shorter match card for Dynasty versus Revolution, because Revolution was way too long. But I think if we get about a good 8 matches on the card, or 7 to 8 matches on the card, to me that's fine. And you let it run for about a good 2.5, almost 3 hours. That's fine. Let's go ahead and get into the show, shall we? So, we kicked the show off with the first match of the night. Kenny Omega defeats Swerve, number 1 contender in the AVP. So, Kenny Omega wins. He wins via the One-Wing Angel. Match was pretty okay. I thought this was going to close the show. It didn't. I don't know why it did not. It should have. We should have gotten promos from both guys throughout the night and everything else to hype this match up, but we did not, because Tony Khan doesn't know what the hell he's doing as a booker. So, this match was a lot more tamed versus their first encounter. So, Swerve did a power driver on the guardrail. That was nice. A little bit too much. Swerve ended up hitting the Swerve Stomp. Omega kicked out of that. Omega hit the V trigger. Swerve kicked out of that. Swerve ended up doing a low blow in the match as well. They fought on the outside a little bit. Both guys did. Swerve did a vertebreaker in the match. Kenny kicked out of that. And Kenny hit the V trigger, and then he hit the One-Wing Angel for the 1, 2, 3. So that's fine there. This makes sense. Omega winning makes sense, because if you think about it, you kind of want to have a babyface versus heel. You always want to have that in the back of your mind. That is what pro wrestling is. It is a babyface versus heel dynamic, good versus evil, angel versus demon, God versus Satan, basically. That's the concept of pro wrestling. You don't need to have a gray area of pro wrestling. It does not work, right? So, Kenny winning was the right decision. What do you do with Swerve now that he's lost? I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's going to make the Dynasty card. Maybe you do Swerve and Brody King again, maybe. Maybe you do that. Maybe you go back and revisit that feud for a little bit. So, yeah. Because I don't think that Swerve's going to be off the Dynasty card. There's no way he should be. So, he should be able to make the card. You got time. So, there's that. But the match was fine. But again, this should have been the main event of the show, and I have no idea why the fuck it wasn't. That was weird to me. But it is what it is. Moving on, let's lead us into Darby Allin. He had a video package. So, you know, didn't really say much of anything. Darby says his heart and mind focused on becoming world champion. I don't know why. Again, Darby ruined that for himself when he climbed Mount Everest, when the whole Death Rider storyline was meant for him to be the one to dethrone Jon Moxley. And Darby was like, nah, fuck that. I'm going to go climb Mount Everest. And truth be told, I don't want to see Darby Allin be world champion. I just don't. I wouldn't have minded if he never would have climbed Mount Everest and he would have been, you know, maybe been world champion for about a good month to 3 months at best. That's fine. But for him to just say, I want the world title now, nah, bro. No. It's too many people that are way higher on the totem pole than he is, if we're being honest. And personally, if I was booking AEW, Darby would really just be tucked away on Collision for a while. We wouldn't see Darby on Dynamite for at least a good 6 to 8 months, man. Because the whole Death Rider storyline was built for Darby to be the one to dethrone Moxley. And Darby chose to be selfish, basically. I mean, what more is there to it? I mean, we know Darby's not going to beat MJF anyway. So, whatever. Moving on, this leads us into Will Ospreay. He was backstage. He says that he has an issue with Pac and anyone that surrounds themselves with Jon Moxley. He told Pac to meet him in Winnipeg and they'll fix it. Will Ospreay took exception to what Jon Moxley was saying to him, putting him on a timeout. Will Ospreay said that he appreciated the timeout to spend time with his son, and he said that while Moxley has his reasons for snapping his neck, he'll alter Moxley's life. He signed off telling Moxley that he wants him at Dynasty, and then he calls Moxley a motherfucker. So I like that. Pretty cool stuff there. That's fine. You might as well go ahead and get Will Ospreay and Jon Moxley out of the way. That makes sense. You could have kind of saved that a little bit for like Double or Nothing. We're getting Pac and Ospreay next week, which should be fine. That's good there. I thought they were going to save that for Dynasty, but they're not. Because clearly you can do Moxley and Will at Double or Nothing in May. So you could add a little bit more heat to their feud and give that a little bit more time to cook in the kitchen, basically, instead of trying to just microwave everything. I mean, we get it. Dynasty's in 3 weeks, but still, you don't need to have Will Ospreay, Jon Moxley so soon. You can wait for that till Double or Nothing in May. So, I don't know, man. Moving on. The Death Riders, they defeat, well, that was Jon Moxley, Mini Shafir, and Daniel Garcia. They defeated Top Flight and Zeta Steel. Yes, Zeta Steel, who used to be in Evolve. I have no idea why Tony Khan signed her. Zeta Steel, in my opinion, I like her, but I feel like she would have been better off in TNA. So that way she could be around established people, established women. She's fairly young. I mean, she's super young. I mean, she's what, 21, 22? She's only been wrestling for about a good 2-3 years. So, yeah. I mean, Zeta Steel's not going to do anything anyway. I think she's just being tucked away on Ring of Honor and every so often she gets to be on Collision, so yeah. But the Death Riders win the match. Don't really care about this shit. Post-match, Jon Moxley got on the mic, and he addressed the whole Will Ospreay situation. So Jon Moxley told Will Ospreay that it's not nice to say mean things about people on TV. So the crowd chants for Ospreay. Moxley says that he knows that Will Ospreay is very upset. Moxley said that it's not personal, and he's happy to have the match at Dynasty, but not to let Will Ospreay's mouth get him in trouble in the meantime. Okay, whatever. I don't really give a damn about this. This is dumb little promo, so whatever. Moving on from that, this leads us into the Young Bucks. So they basically want to regain the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Matt Jackson said that 2026 is the year that the Young Bucks are back, and it doesn't matter who stands in their way. I don't care about this at all. Again, they're going to add the Young Bucks to Edge and Christian and FTR. That's a no-brainer. So there's that. Moving on. Speedball Mike Bailey defeats Rocky Romero. I don't give a fuck. Who cares? This match went on for like 4 minutes. Don't care. Moving on. This leads us into MJF. So MJF comes out. He gets a good heel reaction as per usual. So MJF gets on the mic and he said that he's not only world champion, but he's the man who hanged the Hangman. He said that Hangman could never, ever challenge for the championship. He said that a good 15 to 20 times. MJF said that it was the easiest match of his entire career. MJF said that he's still world champion and no one deserves it more than him because his name is Maxwell Jacob Friedman and he's better than you and you know it. And then he said, ain't nobody on the level of the devil. So Kenny Omega shows up. Kenny Omega apologizes for not being dressed properly because he just had a match and he has a little smell to him. And he wanted to know what MJF's excuse was for not wrestling. So Kenny said that he's tired of listening to MJF or the devil. So Kenny Omega began to list his own nicknames, saying that he never put himself above others. Kenny said that for evil, there's always a strong good force, and said that the God of pro wrestling may be the right person to take the title from MJF. So Kenny Omega said that during their first encounter, their first match, he was better than 60 to 80% of Kenny. But he said he's back now. Kenny said his first loss to Swerve taught him to not fall for any more hijinks. Kenny said he's near 100% and he's probably better than MJF. And it's okay if the fans know it, but the most important part is that MJF knows it. Kenny said they'll see who the better man is at Dynasty, and then he offers MJF a handshake. MJF declines the offer. He said it's the God. It's the God versus the devil. And then MJF leaves, and then Kenny does his usual catchphrase, and that's it. So who really cares? This was okay. Kenny Omega had an okay promo here. I like this. They got a little bit more time to build the match. We need to have a more better promo exchange next time. We should get that next week because we need promos to build this thing. We know that they've had history before in the past. They fought each other back in Collision, and this was the first Collision I watched in years. This was back in 2024, and I watched that match, and it was a good match. So, yeah. This is fine. Them revisiting that 2 years later, that's fine. I have no problem with this. So, good stuff here. We need to have more promos from these guys. So, hopefully we get at least 2 more promo exchanges, and then maybe like a little pull-apart brawl on the go-home show maybe. But we need a couple more back and forth promos from these guys to make things seem legit, if you catch my drift. Moving on, this leads us into Edge and Christian. They were backstage. Christian said that life is about making choices, and FTR chose to turn their backs on Edge and jump them at All Out, and chose to spike power drive Beth. Christian said that even worse than that, they chose to power drive him, so Christian Cage walked off. Edge seemed muffled, and he called Christian an asshole. Edge said that he knows two bigger assholes, and they threw away their friendship. He said he'll hurt them by taking their titles, and he's going to end their careers. Okay, that's fine. Moving on, Edge and Christian, they were backstage. So, Christian said that life is about making choices, and that FTR chose to turn their backs on Edge and chose to jump them at All Out, and they chose to spike power drive Beth. Christian said that even worse than that, they chose to power drive him, so Christian walked off. So Edge said that he knows two bigger assholes than Christian, and they threw away their friendship. Edge said that he'll hurt them by taking their tag team championships, and he's going to be the one to end their careers. Okay, that's fine there. Moving on from that, FTR, they came out. So Stokely said that nobody should care about Edge and Christian and what they have to say. So Cash said that they want to talk about choices. They made the choice to dump their dead weight. Cash said that they won't live in their shadow, meaning Edge and Christian, because they're the best tag team of their generation, and take a backseat to nobody. Cash admitted that Edge helped him out, but he doesn't need him anymore because he has a new family. Dax said the tough guy act doesn't scare him, and neither Christian nor Edge were the men they used to be. Dax said that if he'll drop Copeland's life on her head, just imagine what he'll do to Edge. Okay, that's fine there. Who cares, though? Moving on. The Dogs, Clark Connors, Hangman Adam Page 2.0, and David Finlay, they defeated the conglomeration Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong. Who cares? I don't care about this at all. This makes no sense. Why is this here on this show? Moving on. This leads us into Divine Dominion. Megan Bain and Lena Cross, they were backstage. Cross said that Willow bit off more than she can chew, and now she's going to choke. Megan Bain said that Hardy's optimism won't save her, and she should go play with puppets. Okay, that's fine. Who cares? Moving on, this leads us into Kyle Fletcher. He was backstage. So he wanted St. Paul, Minnesota to say his full name. Kyle Fletcher said that beating his mentor puts everything into perspective, and that he's on track to become the greatest TNT champion of all time. Kyle Fletcher added that he's undefeated in 2026, unlike Kenny and MJF. Kyle Fletcher said that they shouldn't be aligned with MJF. They should be fighting him. He said that, he's the man to do so. So Takeshita shows up and steps in. Kyle Fletcher told him that he doesn't want anything to come between them. Takeshita said nothing will come between them, especially Okada, and that Protoshita comes first. Okay, whatever. Who cares? This is fine. It's going to be a while before Kyle Fletcher becomes world champion, and it's not going to be on MJF's watch. I think that if Fletcher becomes champion, it's going to be through Will Ospreay. And I think that's what they might do, basically. So that would make sense if we're being honest, right? Because Ospreay is going to be the one to dethrone MJF, basically, and it's going to happen in August at All in Wembley. So yeah. Moving on, this leads us into Tekla versus Mina Shirakawa for the AEW Women's World Championship. Tekla wins. Match was okay. Main event of the evening. Actually, no. More Kenny Omega was on this show. So we got more Kenny Omega. So Omega was backstage with Renee Paquette. She told him that him and MJF are gonna have a contract signing next week, and there can't be any physicality because if there is, the match is off basically. So Kenny Omega's not surprised by MJF's chicanery and skullduggery or tomfoolery. Kenny Omega said it's been a while since he's been in this position, but he said that he's the man to take the title. So Speedball Mike Bailey showed up to tell Kenny that he's earned the title of the God of Pro Wrestling. Mike Bailey told Kenny Omega that when he wins, he'll be the first to challenge for the world title. Right now, he wants a handshake. And then they do the handshake and whatever. I don't care about any of this shit. I don't. Speedball will never be a world champion. At best, he'll be a TNT champion. That's it. Moving on. The demand were backstage. So Ricochet, he apologized for losing his cool. Ricochet said that he was unjustifiably screwed for losing his title in the 21 Battle Royal. Ricochet said that he defended that title in singles matches, but doesn't understand why Kenny Omega is getting a shot at the world title. Ricochet reminded Kenny that that one time they met, he won the match. And Ricochet said that when you're in demand, you can make demands. And then the other guys said that if you don't follow demands, you'll get put down. I don't care about this shit. Ricochet being back, who cares? Moving on, main event of the evening. Darby Allin defeats Rush in a no countout match. Match was pretty fun, I guess, for the most part. Darby got busted open by a nasty headbutt from Rush. Rush gave Darby a beating in this match. Darby wins via roll-up, basically. Then post-match, the Don Callis family show up. They attack Darby, and they stand tall. So there's that. This show, for the most part, was boring. We've got matches from Dynasty announced, basically. That's fine. What's Swerve going to be doing at Dynasty? I have no idea. Hopefully he'll go after Brody King. Hopefully. We didn't need Darby on this show, match-wise. It seems like AEW has no sense of direction, basically. That's not good. You got too many people on this show wanting to be world champion. Everybody can't be world champion, right? That needs to be for a select few guys. I would say Swerve, Ospreay, Darby, even though he shouldn't be there. Brody King, Kenny, Hangman, your top guys to semi-top guys. That's who should really be there. Everybody else should just be in the mid-card, going after Kyle Fletcher or Jack Perry or whoever, right? You got 4 of those damn things. You got 4 mid-card titles. It makes no sense. Okada needs challengers. Now, clearly, they're still building the Okada and Takeshita thing, which is fine. But it is what it is. But this show, man, just was kind of hard to get through. Especially since they ended up doing what should have been the main event first. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people tuned out from the show after that. Even the promo exchange from Omega and MJF, that was okay, but it wasn't the best. So, it is what it is. But what did you guys think of Dynamite? Let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.